All right. Welcome.
Hi.
You're live. I am super excited today to launch the first in an ongoing series of entrepreneur interviews with the interview of someone that I respect a lot and really like what she is doing. And I think you're going to end up agreeing with me. It's a pretty neat concept. Leslie Farron is the publisher of an online magazine called 50 Plus Today. And Leslie, I'm so excited to have you be my first guest. Thank you for being number one.
My pleasure.
Well, you know, entrepreneurs almost always have, I think, most of them have a good origin story. So I want to start by asking, how did you decide to get into the publishing business? You know, publishing is a tough business because you have deadlines and you've got to round up you've got all these different people that you have to satisfy. You have to satisfy an audience, you have to create content, you have to get advertisers. That sounds just like an awful lot of work to me. What brought you to this thing you're doing?
Well, first of all, I don't really have deadlines because I'm an online only magazine. It's very difficult to make any money at all these days with a print magazine. What brought me to this? To me, it's marketing and networking and connecting people, and that's what I've done my whole life. I'm in this space because I'm in the 50 plus community myself. I saw some problems that needed solving, and I thought I could do that. That's what brought me into it.
Okay. So of all the different things that you could do from a marketing perspective, publishing a magazine, what made you, what was the genesis of your thought process that made you say, oh, this sounds like a good idea, this way of doing marketing?
I was working as a marketing consultant for other companies, and I had this desire to work with the older adult population, and I thought, why not promote myself as opposed to somebody else? It's basically it.
Gotcha. Okay. So what were you doing before? Describe kind of how you got to this point, a little bit of your history, your background, what prepared you to do what you're doing now?
Oh, nothing prepared me. I'm learning as I go. Well, you know a little bit about my history. I have a clinical background. I did hospital work for quite a few years. And then I went into the preventive health field, and all of that ties in. When I moved to Texas 25 years ago, kicking and screaming, but I like it now. I started to do more marketing. I realized that's what I really loved about what I was doing, marketing the programs, creating the programs and marketing them as opposed to doing clinical work. So I went back to school. I got certifications in web design and marketing and a variety of other things. And then I started to help take care of my parents. My mom was in a wheelchair, and I became a fierce advocate for creating a world that was accessible for all. And in 2021, you should be able to expect that, but that is just not the case. And so while I have always worked with older adults, I became even more conscious of some of the issues and the issues of being a caregiver at that point. And I also entered the 50 plus group myself at that point. Anyway, my husband and I decided to invest in building, I'm not sure you even know this, we built a home, a vacation rental home that we have on Airbnb that's mostly accessible. And we did that because my mom still loved to travel, and apparently even hotels that say they're accessible often have a grab bar over the tub and that's it, but they advertise as being accessible, which is silly because she couldn't get in a tub. So we built this home. We didn't know how it would go, but we've been booked consistently. Apparently we hit a nerve. So from there, I I created an online magazine geared toward the accessible, the population with disabilities. And then a year later, I just wanted to expand to all older adults, older consumers. So that's how I got into this very broad field.
Well, you just did something that reminded me of a conversation you had. You said older adults, then you should switch to older consumers. I think one of the things that's so intriguing about your publication is the audience, and that audience seems to me like it would be just a natural audience for so many businesses. And the first ones that come to mind, of course, are financial planners and architects and people that focus specific services on the needs of that community. But travel, there's so many things. Healthcare. Has it been easy for you to attract advertisers?
Well, I've been doing this about a little over a year and a half, so it's still pretty new. And I would say yes, the last few months have been easy. Most of them contact me as opposed to my having to go after them. But to get advertisers, you need a lot of traffic. That takes time. It takes a lot of work. Maybe 3 hours a day I spend optimizing and editing and SEO and all that stuff. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And advertisers won't advertise with you if you don't have good content, accurate content. I'm really careful and protective of the advertisers I even accept and the writers that I accept, because my reputation is at stake as well as the advertisers.
So give me a little sense of how well established your publication is. You've been doing this now, I think I just heard you say, for about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. What is your distribution, readership? I mean, give me a few metrics so that the audience that is listening will know, if they're interested, what kind of reach you have that you could help them with.
Sure. I have about 10,000 views a month on the website. I have 2 email lists, one that's national, one that's local to DFW, only because I live here. 20% of my readership is in DFW. The rest are scattered across the country with a concentration in the New York, New Jersey area, probably because that's where I moved here from. I know a lot of people there. I have almost a 30% open rate on my newsletter, which is
excellent,
really good. Yeah, surprisingly good. And for those who open the newsletter, I have 22% or so open rate or click rate for the content inside the newsletter. So I also Facebook, I have a Facebook group, which is a community with 1.2 thousand members currently. And they're active and engaged members. I have a Facebook page, which is great for advertising because Facebook boosts are very effective. And I have about 900, I think that's correct at this point. I have a very active LinkedIn presence. I don't remember offhand, I'd have to look again. Thousands. I can get people in front of thousands of.
Gotcha. So when you say you can get people in front of however many, how do you do that? Do you write articles for them? Do you put in display ads? Do you mention them in a newsletter? I mean, what are the various things that you can do to help somebody that wants to get in front of your audience get in front of your audience?
Well, yes, to all of your questions. It really depends very specifically on the person. I don't have canned advertising. The newsletter, I will put an ad in my newsletter, a banner ad for people just for branding purposes, but I do tell people that it's much more effective for me to interview someone, write a sponsored post that's about 800 words with their contact information, and I write it as a human interest story because people like to work with people, not just with companies, and I want to help establish them as an expert in their field. So that's the first thing. That's what I like to do most. I like to interview people, write a sponsored post. Then we can put that in the newsletter. In addition, we can leverage it throughout social media. I'm hoping to get more into webcasts and podcasts and that kind of thing. I'm not quite there yet. As far as banner ads on the website, yes, I will do it. I do think that people don't see them as much as they used to because there's so many. I kind of think people jump over them. So that's not the first thing I recommend. I do gift guides. Right now I'm working on my gift guides for Easter and for Passover, and those are really successful. I have a 19% conversion rate, and that's a great way to market people inexpensively. As far as people who write articles for me, I get contacted every day by lots of people wanting to write articles. I have a very specific format that appeals to my readers, and so I work with them on the topic and the optimization and all of that. But they need to be experts in their field, and they need to be in this age group so they can provide a first-person, personal kind of article.
So we had a conversation the other day about how people in this age group like to be referred to.
We did.
Would you share a little bit? I found that fascinating. Would you share a little bit about what you have discovered through running your publication?
Sure. My population is really mostly age 50 to 75. So that's why I call them active adults. And I call them aging consumers to advertisers because that's what they are. People in this age group do not want to be called seniors. That's not a complimentary term. And people tell me I don't want to be categorized in the same category with an 80-year-old if I'm only 59. I get it. There's lots of names they don't like. They don't like baby boomers because anything with baby in front of it, they don't like. They don't like golden girls or golden years or silver tsunami. Most of them don't like labels at all. That's really the primary objection, which goes back to what topics do I cover? I cover all of them because people this age are as interested in all of these things in the same way anybody else would be. I was just thinking my 90-year-old dad likes to be called an elder. He thinks that makes him sound wise, but I wouldn't call somebody younger an elder.
I remember when I was about 40 years old, somebody called me Pops, and I wanted to take a baseball bat after him. Nowadays, I don't mind, but when I was 40, that was like horrible.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, it was annoying. So what is, everybody that does the entrepreneurial journey ends up learning some things that they go, gosh, I wish I knew that when I started. Yeah. What are a couple of the things, maybe the single biggest thing, but what are the things that you look back, in the, 1, 2, 3 years ago time frame as you were kind of getting this started that you wish you had known then, but didn't, what is that I wish I had known thing for you?
Well, there's so many, really. I guess one thing is that, and I knew this because I've had other entrepreneurial ventures, but having your own business provides flexibility time-wise, but it's not less time. It's far more time than you ever spend working for someone else. And just on that note, it's interesting that this week where we had the storm, we had no internet, heat, water, nothing. And the world didn't fall apart because I wasn't working 10 hours a day. So I kind of learned that maybe I need a little more of a balance. Maybe I don't need to do this. I wish I knew more of the legal aspects. I think you can get in trouble without realizing it. I think that's a big one too. Other than that, I'm pretty well versed in business, I think.
So if somebody was thinking about starting a venture, now let's just go with a generic, and then I'm going to ask you about a publishing because there's so many things people could publish. There's there's sports, and there's all kinds of interests that are not. I mean, so many things people could build a publication around. In general, what would be sort of like the key pieces of wisdom or advice you would share with somebody thinking about starting a business?
Well, for me, it was important that I was able to self-fund. I'm not interested in going into debt. It was also important for me to have an income stream elsewhere while I was building, which is something they completely discourage on Shark Tank, which I'm addicted to. But for me, it was important. One thing I would strongly recommend is that people keep their head down and just give their customer the best experience they can give them, and don't worry about the competition. You don't have to compare yourself. You don't have to keep up. You do have to, of course, learn from what other people are doing that works well and try to implement it. But don't worry that somebody is taking your traffic. You can't take somebody else's traffic. It's impossible. You know, you're a computer guy. Just do the best you can do and enjoy what you're doing. If it's not bringing you joy, then find something else.
So talk to me a little bit about, okay, well, I'm going to follow up on that question. Now I'm going to say, let's talk about an online publication. If somebody wanted to start an online publication, what would be the most critical pieces of advice other than what you just said, but specific to an online publication? What would be the things you would warn them or guide them to be aware of? What would that be?
There's very little expense to starting an online business. What people don't realize is how difficult it is to get traffic. You can throw a few things up on Facebook or wherever, but unless you have a strategy, a well thought out strategy and a content calendar, you're not going to be able to build traffic. I don't think, people call me a lot and they want me to do their social media or their marketing, and they want to give me $15 an hour for it. They don't have any idea the amount of time and energy and expense that's required, and they won't succeed unless they learn it. The other thing that's important to know for an online publication is as soon as you learn about the rules that Google has and how they might penalize you and the rules of social media, they change. That's the only constant. So it's constantly keeping up with what's going on today.
Right. Well, you're preaching to the front row here.
I get it. I know.
So I'm going to pause for just a second. If anybody by chance is, has a comment, a question, if you would feel free, if you'd like to. We have about 12 minutes left. If I see a comment come up that is a good one, or just a comment that we can pass along to Leslie to answer, be glad to have you. I see Bob Hurt is on the phone or on the call with us. So on the phone, right? So I need to figure out how to get a phone line hooked up here. I guess I could just have people call my cell phone and I could let them tune in. I'll have to experiment with that, or let them just come in. Leslie, is the business doing what you expected it would? I like to say management is measurement. And if you're not measuring your progress towards your goals, of course, you don't know whether or not you're reaching them and all that kind of stuff. So, you had to have a plan. I'm presuming you did have a business plan of some sort before you started. Okay, good. How are you doing in terms of being on target? Are you pretty much where you expected to be at the 1.5 year point? And are you happy with where you're at? Talk to me a little bit about that. And then I'm going to ask you about what you expect for the future.
Well, I'm very happy with the amount of traffic I have and my rankings online. Part of that is COVID. I've spent most of this past year working on that. I'm not where I am in terms of advertising because I'm very sensitive to the issues so many people had during this crazy time. And I feel that I don't give back enough. I never feel like I give enough to charity, and so I spent a lot of time and effort helping people who are struggling, and pro bono or for decreased prices this past year, which at some point, and actually March 15th specifically, I'm going to have to stop and increase my prices a little bit, and you know. So in terms of my advertising, no, I haven't met my goals, but I'm okay with that.
Okay. So talk to me about the future. It sounds like you're not imminently in danger of folding, so you're here to stay. You're going to be going for a while. What are your plans for the future? What are your hopes and goals for this? What would you like to see this be in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
Well, I started with an online publication, but really my goal is to create a safe and supportive community. I want people to know they're not alone. So one of my goals is to continue to have great writers contact me and want to write, and that's great exposure for them. My second goal is to actually, once the world opens up, and this is another thing I had to stop during COVID, planning events. I had started planning events. I'm working with a number of experts, travel experts, hypnotic hiker, meditation specialist. I have a wine tasting expert. I want to plan events, and I want to start in Dallas because that's where I am, but I would like to open up in 6 months around the country and have different people managing those events.
Okay. Randall Mills has joined us, and Randall has a question.
Okay.
I say he's joined us in the chat or in a comments, and he has a question. He's asking, what's been your most successful marketing channel for your business?
For this age group, marketing to my readers for this age group is absolutely Facebook, building a Facebook community. For advertisers who want to target this age group, it's absolutely LinkedIn.
So Facebook for readers, LinkedIn for advertisers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple there. So what are you doing on Facebook? Exactly what kind of advertising are you doing to be able to increase your readership?
Well, I post my articles. I hashtag them appropriately. I tag people as appropriate. I boost post on my page. You can't boost in a group, but you can boost on a page. And the response I get from people is that everything you post is interesting, which I love to hear. And people tell me that they don't bother to read a lot of the noise. There's a lot of stuff online, but they do stop and read mine. And so I think that that's the success. Content is king, but it's got to be good content, and it's got to be written in a way that people respond to.
Okay. Okay. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, I guess they can just go to 50plustoday.com. I'm scrolling it across the bottom, and I'm so tickled. I actually remembered our conversation, and I got it right. Devoted specifically for the active adult community. So I actually use the right languaging. Folks, you definitely don't want to use the wrong languaging when you're reaching out to somebody, because they'll just go like, forget you, I'm out of here.
It's actually 50plus-today.com, just so people are aware of that. There's a dash in there.
Yeah, 50plus-today.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm presuming they can sign up for your mailing list, as well as find your phone number and press kit or whatever, all that kind of stuff there. Now, I say press kit, you probably need to talk to each person kind of individually at this point to customize things, right?
I do have a media kit, but yes, it's a starting place. I do.
Okay.
Again, my whole thing is relationships. I really don't want to do any canned advertising, but I do feel like people are entitled to some basic information up front.
If you had your dream person that would see this interview and pick up the phone and call you, what would be your ideal, connection to be made as a result of being on this LinkedIn Live broadcast?
Other than you?
Well, thank you. But yes, other than me.
It would be an advertiser that understands that this is a vibrant community that controls 70% of the disposable income in the US right now, and understands that only 5% of businesses effectively market to this community, and understand that I can help them very effectively get in front of a lot of people in this age group.
There's, folks, she is effective. She's working with another friend of mine named Valerie, who is a hypnotherapist, and Valerie does these events called Hypnotic Hiking, and she scheduled one with, I guess, worked with Leslie to get one promoted. Leslie, describe how that went over.
Well, we were keeping the numbers to 10 for social distancing purposes. The first one, the only one we had planned, filled up in 5 minutes. So we opened up another one later in the day, and that one, it didn't quite fill up, but we had 7 people immediately. I promoted it just in our newsletter, and I did a post online that I leveraged on social media.
So I'm thinking you were extremely pleased, and Valerie was also extremely pleased with the turnout and the response, right?
Absolutely. And then after the fact, I posted pictures of the event, and boy, we got so many comments. How can I join? Where can I get more information? That kind of thing.
I think that's a great example of how powerful your community and your marketing is. When I heard about it, I had no idea what to expect, and was real tickled to not only know that you got one off the ground, but filled a second one up, essentially filled up a second one. Mm-hmm. And that's because your audience is looking for interesting and new activities, but also is, like you said, they're active. So folks, if you want to reach that audience, you absolutely need to pick up the phone and call Leslie, and which you can find her phone number by going to the 50plustoday.com website.
50plus-today.com.
50plus-today. Just look at my little ticker thing down there at the bottom. 50plus-today. And Leslie, I want to thank you for making time today to come on and be part of this. I'm going to throw up a banner here for not a banner, a brand asset. Hopefully, yes. Now, I don't know if this is going to cover you up, Leslie. I didn't mean to do that. You can kind of see a shadow in the background. But I want to let everybody know that the LiveStreamLee.com live broadcast, I'll be interviewing a new business next week. It'll be Randall Mills with 24-Hour Physicians. He's an innovator in the telemedicine space, and he's going to be telling us about his journey to success, and just like Leslie has. And so go to LiveStreamLee.com, join our community by clicking on the Join My Community link there, and create an account. They're free. You'll get a whole bunch of great tools, plus access to documents and other things that I think you'll find both useful and interesting, and there's no charge for it. So I'm going to take that back off and just say goodbye to Leslie. Leslie, thank you again for your time today, and I'll see you soon in our networking groups.
Okay, thank you. It was fun.
Thanks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.